Well, good afternoon again. Thursday, be out tonight. Hopefully, they're clapping for everybody in the NHS and all the rest of the workers, etc., for doing such a good job and keeping us safe. Hope everybody's all right. Now, this one's a bit different today. This is called Billy at the Band Contest. It's my friend, a gentleman called Tony sent it me, and this was printed somewhere like 1913. Four Lanes Band Contest is all right in his way, but it can't be compared to the contest we used to have back 50 years ago. In they days, brass bands wasn't hardly heard about steps into Druce and over Camborne. Our bands were mostly fife and drum bands. Good ones they were too. I used to live at Downs in they days. For years we had the best band in the parish, and to hear them play Hold the Fort or Pull to the Shore were experience what you would never forget once you heard it. My old father was the leader of the band, and when he was forced to give up because he got too fat that he couldn't blow going uphill, I was put in his place. And though I say it, and shouldn't say it, they were never a band what had a prettier and more capable and more fearless leader than I was. Talk about leading, we won the first prize of 5 shillings once over the Scroggin, and North Country Band, what were second, were as jealous as fire and cold as chates, and all the rest of it. Now, 'tis hard lines for they honest men to be called cheats, and as I were jealous for the reputation of our band, I called their leader over and told him if he'd better take back what the words that I should feel it'd be my duty to chastise him. But as luck would have it, he turned out that I was talking to a more able man than myself. For taking me by the scruff of the neck, he gave me such a sick shaking with the teeth nearly dropped out of my head. And if I didn't scram murder, I believe there would have been an end of me on the spot. Once I were asked to judge in a contest. I was always a bit ambitious that way, so I took on the job we thought weighing up the consequences. The band were down to bridge. Besides the bridge band, whose leader were Peter Pott, what kept the Kiddlywink down there were also Pertrace Band, Letty Moore's Band, Skithy Band, Puckett's Hill Band, Scroggin Band, North Country Band, and one or two more bands whose names I don't exactly remember now. 'Twere a terrible cold day. I hadn't slept for 2 nights with toothache, so I put a little bottle of brandy in my pocket. They were cheering loud when I come on the field, and all the leaders touched their hats just for all the world as if I was a real gentleman. We had 5 test pieces. Where is wandering my boy tonight? Dare to be Daniel, and the Feast of Belshazzar, Swanee River, and there's a light in the window. And as there were 10 bands, and each band had to play all the pieces, you couldn't but say that everybody were for a good pennyworth. When everything were ready, I were put in a wheelbarrow and covered over with a piece of canvas, for tents were very scarce in they days. At last I gave the signal, and the first band started to play, and my old toothache started at the same time. I put a drop of brandy on him, what eased them for the time, but in a minute he would start again, worse than ever. So he had more brandy, still more brandy, until at last the aching wore and all gone. I were feeling that drowsy in my head going round that fast that I couldn't keep my eyes open. Then I must have dropped off to sleep, for I didn't remember nothing more until somebody shacked me and asked me what band won the prize. What prize? I said, with his eyes still shut. Why, the contest prize, booby, he said. If you call me booby again, I said, I'll before I finished, I must have gone to sleep again, for the next thing I remembered were being dropped into a pool of water down by the corner of the field. That brought me to my senses pretty quick, and I scrambled out of the water in less time than it took them to put me in there. I could see the people in the field waving their hands, all excited, and could hear them shouting to have their money back. So what I took and done was to climb over the edge and make home for as quick as I could. Next day I had to pay over 4 shillings and 7pence to make up what was short after paying the people 3 pennies back. I didn't go down to bridge for a long time after that, and I've done no judging since. Well, 3 weeks ago, come Tuesday, Jack Sleeman come to my house all excited, and he said, "Seanie, do you know me, Billy?" he said. "Oh, I think so," I said, thinking of the many half-sovereigns Jack borrowed from me from time to time, and he never paid back. "And you know me to be able man, Billy," he said. "Yes," I said, "I consider you to be the ablest man in the parish, next to myself. And of course it must be musical." "Of course you be," I said. "And you be musical too, Billy," he said. Rather," I said. "Well," he said, "I suppose there be 6 or 8 more down here what's musical too," he said. "No doubt about it," I said. "Then what is there to prevent us to going 4 lanes next week and taking that £15 prize?" I said. "What do you mean?" Then he up and said that there was to be a £15 prize and a silver cornet for the band what to play the purtiest. "To be sure, Jack," I asked, for it was hard to believe that so much money could be won in one afternoon. "Read the bill for yourself," he said, and took out a bill out of his top pocket for me to read. I put on my glasses, and there it would be in bold print. There was the best band would get a silver cornet. "We haven't got a band, Jack," I said. "We can soon make one," he said, "for there's Joe Pierce and Mr. Carpenter and young Tom Blight and Josie Paul and his son-in-law Jim Pooler, young Nicky, Jan and Dickie Boo." "What about music?" I said. "We can't get fifes for 9pence, he said, "and Joe Pierce still got his old drum." Well, to make a short story long, we called a meeting that same evening, and I were conductor, and afore the end of the week we were practising in my old barn for all we was worth, the 2 old favourites, "Dare to be Daniel" and "There's a Light in the Winder." And when the day of the contest arrived, we could play both places with our eyes shut. We left home with stout hearts and a determination to win the first prize or perish in the attempt. When we got close to Druce, we formed up marching order and let all the lusty "Dare to be Daniel," and the powwow come to the doors to see where the sound was coming from. By the time we reached the bottom of the town, there were 15 or 20 little boys following behind us, and it looked like, for all the world, like a titrate. I would make bound to say, too purty music too, for Josie and Jack and boy Nicky and the rest of them were in first-rate form. When they were over, we pressed on our journey, and we didn't pay no more until we got to 4 lanes. And didn't the people stare when we struck up? "There's a light in the window." Then an accident happened for Joe Pierce, the rash that he scat in the side of the drum. The people must have known I was coming with the band, for the flags were flying everywhere. And the gate we kept on marching and playing, but the man in the charge shouted, "6pence plays each." "But we're in the band," I said. "What band?" he said. "The championships," I said. Then after looking in the red paper, he took out of his pocket and he said there was no band of that name entered. "Of course we haven't entered," I said, "for you have stopped us." "What be your name?" he said. "Billy Near," I said, walking close to the cats, and in case he went off to faint. But strange to say, he wasn't a bit upset by the news that Billy Near had arrived. But he said he, "the name ain't on this paper, and what's more, I don't know he." "Don't know me?" I said, for I could hardly believe my ears. "No, I don't," said he. "You don't?" I said again. "No, I don't know he from Adam," he said. "Then, young man," I said, "your education have been sadly neglected." Then a nice-looking young man with a badge on his coat asked what were the matter. "'Tis like his ear, Mr. Roberts," said the man. "This here fellow, what to say his name is Billy Near, went to go into for nothing with all his party. Upon hearing my name, this here Mr. Roberts come forth and really wring my hand off and said he was proud to welcome such an important person to the contest. 'You being a newspaper man, Mr. Near,' he said, 'and therefore you don't pay.' 'What about the band?' I asked. 'Fife and drum bands aren't allowed to play for the prize,' he said, 'but you can do all the playing you want over in the corner of the field, provided the other bands don't hear ye.' They were a fair offer, and we all thanked the young man for taking it. Then I took half a sovereign out of my purse and we all passed through. There were a band playing so lovely when we got there that we agreed not to do no playing at all, but to listen to the other bands. So we put our fifes in our pocket and Joe Pierce throwed his broken drum over the edge. We were glad we comed, for we never heard purtier music afore except when the Grenadier Guards and Luggin Band. The 7 little bands done so purty that if I'd been the judge I should have gave them all the first prize. After they finished, Droof Band started, and I don't mind saying that I wanted them to do well, for though I be a Downs man and my Lizzie Ann a Scroggin woman, I always somehow had a liking for Droof. Well, they played beautiful, and when they finished, Master Richard Reynolds, who I knowed when he were only so high, and his father and grandfather foreign, looked some proud when he walked off the stage. The Camborne Band, in charge of a strange-looking gentleman who I'd never seen before, done their playing, and before they finished, Jack Sleeman and Meister Carpenter said twice, be a close thing between they two bands, and a close thing it were, too, but Droof got in front, and I shouldn't be surprised at what they don't keep there. Well, we didn't get the first prize, but we had an enjoyable day, and wouldn't have missed them for anything. Right, just one little short one here. Sunday morning it arrived, all the work was finished, the dinner was in the oven. Father, Uncle Matty and Richard Henry had gone to chapel to bring back the minister to dinner. There was only one thing that could go wrong. Would the parrot say anything that would upset all the good work she had done? You never know what he would say, and you had to listen. As they all sat down to dinner, the minister bowed down his head over his plate to say grace. Richard Henry thought he was doubtful and was smelling to make sure. "'Tis all right," said Richard Henry. "Only killed yesterday." "Thank you," replied the minister to Mother. "A little more chicken, but no more potatoes." It was his third helping of chicken he had eaten. Everything had gone off all right until the parrot shouted, "Don't throw the damn bones under the table." After dinner, Father took the minister down to see his garden. Sitting on the wall was a large rooster, crowing and stretching himself. The minister remarked how proud of himself he seemed to be. "No wonder," replied Father. "He ought to be. He's got 2 sons in the ministry." After the minister had gone, they all lay back in their chairs and had a good sleep, and the parrot said, "I thought he was never going." Thanks very much.